Corvo must die.
Welcome to hell. I hope you're doing well. A few days ago, I asked my Instagram followers to give me their hottest takes regarding video games, movies, and manga. Today, I'll be reading through a select few and giving my thoughts on them. I gotta be honest though, wasn't expecting to receive this many entries, and there's just no way I could go through all of them in one video, unless I want to be here for several hours. So, this video is gonna be part 1 of 2. So if I don't read your take, don't fret, you'll most likely appear in the next video, whenever that releases. Given that I asked for 3 different art forms, the video will be divided into 3 parts dedicated to each one. We'll start with the gaming takes, then the films, and finally we'll talk about some manga. Also, I will not be stating any account names. Some of these takes are a little preposterous, so for their sake, I won't dox them. If you enjoyed this video, please consider... And with that being said, let's get into the first take. Alright, starting off, we have this user saying, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is not a definitive edition and the original still clears. This is an inarguable fact. 2 Black has so many missing features from the original, I'm still shocked they had the audacity to call it a definitive edition. It's just a slightly better version of the worst version of this game, and even that's debatable. Next we have this person saying, Cyberpunk is only good on the first playthrough. I definitely see where you're coming from with this, and while I don't entirely disagree, I think what you really mean is that the game loses its sense of wonder and wander after the first run, as does any game. And you realize how tedious everything in it really is. The game is such a slog to get through on subsequent playthroughs, you have to really be enthralled by the genre and the aesthetic to stomach it multiple times. This user says, Master Ninja is too hard, but the other difficulties are too easy. Yeah, I agree with this. Master Ninja, it requires you to play in such a specific way that isn't fun to the majority of players, but because each difficulty prepares you for the next, going back to lower ones will feel way too easy after you've experienced that real mud the first time around. But I will say, Ninja Gaiden is one of the few series out there that properly conveys what it feels like to get jumped. Up next we have, console lifespans need to be extended to compensate for how long games take to release. 100% yes. Games take far too long to come out nowadays, and each generation is going to see less and less exclusive titles as time goes on. At this rate, we'll end up having one gen exclusive game per system launch and everything else will be cross-gen. The PS5 having no games joke isn't even a joke. This has been the worst generation in quite some time, and I don't see it improving anytime soon. Only solutions I see are to extend the lifespan, as you said, or to prioritize style over realism so these games can release sooner. Alright, got a long one here. Let's see. Not every game needs some etch of violence to be a good game, and not every game needs to be centered around humans or people. I think too many people focus on games surrounding violence or people to realize some games with animals as the main character or focus are just as good and sometimes better, especially when developers have to sometimes put animal behavior, anatomy, way of moving, communication, and much more into making their games as accurate as possible. Yeah, I feel you on this. It's good to have a variety of games that go against what most people expect from them. And while I haven't personally played many games of this nature, but from what I've seen, there's definitely a market for it, and I wouldn't be opposed to diving deeper into that side of the gaming scene. It's good to have perspective on these things and approach everything with some frame of reference. You know, maybe it's not quite my cup of tea, but, you know, a game for everyone is a game for no one. Alright, let's do one more for the games and then shift gears to the next category. Jesus Christ, I can feel the heat exuding from this take. Alright, let's get into it. This user says, FromSoft's combat systems are boring and they desperately need to change it up. It's really good I'm keeping all these anonymous because you would get crucified for this, but you're absolutely correct. I've said this before, but FromSoft's combat is just a means to an end, and the real enjoyment from their games comes from the lore and sense of adventure. From's games are turn-based RPGs masquerading as action games. Even Sekiro is guilty of this, but at least the framing of that game hides it pretty well. But regardless of that, I still think Sekiro was a big step in the right direction for FromSoft, and I hope we get more depth out of them in the future. Alrighty then, let's cycle on over to the next category. Starting off, we have the trend of modern horror films falsely advertising what they are needs to stop. Yeah, I see the frustration with this. Some recent examples that come to mind are Long Legs, 28 Years Later, and Weapons. 2 out of 3 of those are damn good flicks, by the way, but they did not live up to the hype they generated. All of it is just marketing, though, to get butts and seats, but I do see how it can be annoying. This is actually why some people don't watch trailers from anything, really, because like sometimes it's just better to go in completely blind and mitigate any potential disappointment. Wow, okay. This jackass says found footage is terrible. I'm joking, by the way. I didn't really mean to call you a jackass. But yeah, I heavily disagree. Like, I'm biased as fuck, but I heavily disagree with this take. Found footage is so fun and engaging because it puts you in the position of the characters. It's like you're really there experiencing it with them, you know? I definitely understand why people may not fuck with them, but I don't think they're terrible. They're just different. And when utilized correctly, they can be really unnerving. Like 2 horror movies that come to mind are Incantation and Lake Mungo. Those are 2 of the freakiest films I've ever seen, and both utilize this style, and they utilize it well. Oh, Blair Witch, you know, the found footage of all time. You know, like I know a lot of people don't like that, and you know, it's a little camp, but I get where you're coming from with that. It definitely, you know, it's an acquired taste, 100%. But man, I just think they're so fun, and like you can do a lot of like little camera tricks and stuff, and there's just a lot of fun to be had with it, and I think they should stick around. You know, I wish we got more of them. It is a little niche, but yeah, man, when it rocks, it really, really, really fucking rocks. Oh wow, okay. This user says Brand New Day won't save Tom Holland's interpretation of Spider-Man. Yeah, wow, this is definitely a hot take, and I fear I must slightly agree with it. Like, listen, I haven't been the biggest fan of Tom Spider-Man since his debut, and, you know, I love the character, so I always try to give him a fair shot, but I just do not care for how they've written this specific iteration of him. And at this point, most of the day ones have, like, grown to a point where we just don't really care anymore. And of course, there's still those who will never lose hope or just eat whatever slop is thrown their way. But regardless of how you're getting down, I agree that it'll take a lot to undo the damage the MCU has caused. I love Spider-Man, my favorite superhero. Yeah, I have not been a fan of what they've done with the character this past, decade now? Holy shit. Yeah, I agree, man. I'm a little worried. I don't know if they can bounce back. I don't know if they can save it. I hope they can, but you know, I'm at a point where like regardless, I don't think I care anymore. Like, I love Spider-Man, but like at the end of the day, I'm a grown ass man now. Like, I got other interests now. You know, I can't just be all in on this one thing anymore. You know, not only do I just not care about cape shit in general, like I only like Spider-Man and Batman. I don't give a fuck about anyone else. But yeah. I don't really see like if they fumble this, it's just fucking over. Like it's just over, you know. If they fumble this, it's just fucking over. Right, this person says Quentin Tarantino's 10 movie limit is dumb. Yeah, like I'm not really sure. That's not really a hot take. That's just kind of an objective fact. It's just kind of stupid. Like, I don't know why he wants to limit himself and like limit his creativity, why he wants to box himself in. Like, he's a great director, you know. I mean, is he a little overrated? Possibly, you know. I'm not a cinephile. I won't dive real deep into that meat and potatoes, but yeah, I mean, I can understand like why he thinks he has to do that, or like, you know, he's scared. He's so scared of fumbling. And he already made his best shit. So I personally think that he's kind of in a position where he kind of knows subconsciously that he peaked already. And he refuses to have a bad film under his belt. So he's just kind of spiraling and just, you know, kind of going all over the place trying to figure out what to do next. And at this point, you know, if he can't cook anything new, he's just gonna have to admit that Kill Bill Volume 2 is his own fucking movie. Alright, next one from the same lovely user. They're saying a lot of new movie CGI doesn't top some of the CGI used in older movies that had lower budgets and not as much wiggle room. Sometimes movie producers rely too heavily on new CGI to realize it looks shitty and looks tossed together rather than planned out. More layers doesn't mean it looks good, just means we can see plain as day it's fake rather than making CGI look good. Yeah, that's facts. I see where you're coming from with that. I do think though that there are some films, like some old ass films, that while they're good, you know, you can tell that they came out when they fucking came out. But I mostly agree with your statement. I do think that, you know, the reliance on CGI nowadays has gotten to a point where it's like none of it feels authentic. It's like it feels like they're nudging you and like winking, looking at the camera type shit. Like, hey, look, well, we know this isn't real, but it has to, you know, it has to be here. And also the lost art of, you know, mostly practical effects. Like, I don't know why it's so niche to do that now. Yeah, it's just easier for the CGI. It's more, is it more expensive? I don't know. Is practical more expensive than full CGI? I would assume CGI is more expensive, but I guess it just really depends. I don't know. But I don't have the facilities to answer that question. But yeah, I see what you mean. CGI is really hit or miss most of the time. Like when it looks good, it's really fucking good, and when it looks bad, it's the worst thing you've ever seen. Yeah, I agree. You know, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's just I agree. All right, let's grab one more take from the film category, and then we'll move on to manga. This user says, Star Wars is painfully overrated. Listen, as someone who just recently went through the entire franchise minus the shows, I think I'm inclined to agree. If anyone follows me on Letterboxd, which no one does, but you know, self-plug, I made a whole review on what was the last one of the ones that were bad? Was it The Force Awakens or whatever the third installment of the sequels was, whatever that one was? I my review for that, I kind of dove into like my gripes with the series overall, and how I think Star Wars is such a unique concept and it's so cool in concept, but they never do anything cool with it. The story, like, I get it. You know, I get what they're doing. It's not supposed to be all like cool shit constantly and just all over the top. Like, it's an adventure, right? It's a space adventure. You know, it's about this kid, you know, learning who he is and finding himself and overcoming generational trauma or whatever, right? Like the whole Anakin and Luke thing, you know, I get it. But unfortunately, I do think it's a little bit boring. Like, I know it's taboo to say such things, but I don't know, man. It's just so many of those films put me to sleep. I think the only one I genuinely liked was Revenge of the Sith. And that's because that one's the coolest one. But, yeah. Star Wars, it is a little bit overrated. My favorite piece of Star Wars media is the Force Unleashed game from 2008, because that game does everything that I would do with the property. Like, if I were a director and I was given an opportunity to make a Star Wars film, the Force Unleashed is what I would come up with. Like, there's definitely a more intelligent conversation to be had about this, but you know, I don't want to ramble on about it for too long. You know, I'm already, you know, going over limit, but yeah, I agree. It is. I don't think maybe it's not painfully overrated as you put it, but it is a little like, it's a little. Like, I understand the cultural significance of it, but man, it's just really fucking boring sometimes. Alrighty, now that we're done yapping about films for the moment, let's move on over to manga. To start us off, we have this egregious take. Nigga saying Vagabond is mid and is carried by out of context panels and good artwork. Alright, talk to me, man. What the hell are you talking about? Vagabond is genuinely, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, one of the best things I've ever read. It's so, like, I can't even put into words. Like, it's an experience. You have to just read it yourself. Like I'm assuming that you haven't finished it if you think this. But Vagabond is, you have to feel it. Like, it's a journey of self-realization and like just becoming content with who you are and how you serve yourself and what your output is, and your mindset. It's all about mindset and what you do and why you do it, right? Vagabond, like, I don't want to do like I'm 14 and this is deep type of situation here, but genuinely, like, it will take you places. Like, you really feel it. Like, you can feel the weight of everything that's happening in the story. I don't want to get into spoilers or anything. This take is just kind of crazy to me. I mean, I don't know what your experience with it was like. Maybe it's just not your cup of tea. If that's the case, then so be it. I can't knock a nigga for that. But man, this is just insane to me because Vagabond is one of the greats, man. So I implore you to give it another shot. Maybe you started it and it just wasn't hitting right. You know what I'm saying? So try again. And if you still ain't rocking with it, then so be it. But to say that it's carried by out of context panels and good artwork, like, come on, man. Next up, we have this person saying, One Piece is way too long. Yep. Yep. That's not even an opinion, man. That is 100% a stone cold fact. And I recently read the entirety of One Piece back. Actually, I think it's been a year now since I started One Piece. I started One Piece September of last year, and I read it every day. I think I was reading like 10 chapters a day. I finished it around the end of December. I agree with this heavy. One Piece is way too fucking long. I cannot even begin to comprehend how anyone just sits there and watches that shit. Like, if you want to get into One Piece, you fucking read it. It is so much faster and a much better experience. Not only are you getting the original, intent behind it all, but, and cutting out any filler, but it's also just because you can go at your own pace, and that's with anything, not just One Piece, but like reading anything, you can go at your own pace, so it's much faster than watching it and being forced to go at the pace that they want you to go at. Anyone who refuses to get into it because of the length is 100% valid for that. So anyone who wants to get into One Piece right now is the best time to do it because it's starting to wrap up. Like, I bet it'll be done within the next 5 years minimum, maybe. I don't know. Currently, within another fucking flashback arc. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it is too long. This user says, the sexual assault in Berserk is enough of a reason to dislike it. Yeah. I don't think any sane person will disagree with that. That's definitely a heavy topic, and if that's something that a person can't handle or just doesn't want to see, 100% valid. Can't knock them for that. That's a weird thing to like knock someone for. What I will say though, there's a parental advisory sticker on the cover for a reason. All right, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah, 100%. If that's why you can't get into it, totally valid. Not really much else to say about it. I still think, if you can stomach it though, give it a shot because genuinely one of the greats. But as a fan, as a hardcore fan, I will admit that that stuff it's a lot, and not everyone can handle it, and most people shouldn't handle it really, but it's just the dark reality of the world that it's set in. So I implore everyone to be responsible with it. That's all I can say. Alright, this person says, Tokyo Ghoul is really good, but the anime ruined its rep. Yep. I am a huge Tokyo Ghoul fan. Anyone says they're a bigger fan than me is lying. It's me. I'm the number one fan, alright? Alright, jokes aside. Yeah, the anime fucked it up bad, and I've come up with the cope that the anime is just an alternate reality. It's a different universe. That's why things are so different. Yeah, anyone who dropped Tokyo Ghoul, please give it another shot and read the manga. It's really good. Alright, got another insane take here. This person saying JoJolion is better than Steel Ball Run. You know what? I'll admit this take is a little based. It's a little based because there aren't many JoJolion fans. I think there's like 12 JoJolion fans in the world. So it's nice to see someone, recognize it, and acknowledge it. That's cool. But to say it's better than Steel Ball Run, get the fuck out of here. What the fuck you talking about, little nigga? Hell no, it's not better than Steel Ball Run. I read both of them back to back, and I remember more things from Steel Ball Run than I do from JoJolion. And I like JoJolion. Okay, I think it's really good. I think it's a little underrated, but it's not better than Steel Ball. All right, and to wrap things up, we got one more take here. This user saying, no modern shonen will meet the long-term status of anything published before 2000. Okay, we can generate some good discussion with that. I like this take. I like that. Yeah, I think I agree. I don't think any new age series is gonna ever outdo or be as culturally significant as anything that came out before that year. It's never gonna touch things like Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece. It's not gonna touch any of those ever. JoJo's, hell, even fucking Baki. Like, it's not like no new shit will ever be like, it will never have the presence. And I get what are the kids saying nowadays, the aura of those, because nothing has any long stay like that anymore. Everything is just come and go, come and go, come and go. You read one thing and it's on to the next. Nothing really festers, nothing really builds up anymore, and a lot of things just end. Like, they don't even, or like I don't even want to say they end, they just kind of stop, and for whatever reason, shit happens. But I just think in the current climate, in this current generation, I don't think it's possible for anything to be like that. It's the equivalent of saying that someone could be as big as Michael Jackson. Like, it's just not possible, man. It's just a bygone era. And that is all the time I have today, folks. Thanks for watching and sticking around, This is all a little new to me. I don't usually do, this type of video content. If you've been watching my stuff, I mostly just post gameplay clips. I had a few that I did some voice work for, but they were mostly for jokes. And it did not to say that this isn't a joke. It's a fucking hot take, unpopular opinion video, bottom of the barrel type shit. But it's fun. It's a good time. Gives me a chance to work on my voice skills or whatever, get better talking to the mic and shit. And I had a good time doing this. It was fun, and thank you all so much for sending in your entries and all that. I thought that was really fun, going through those. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get to all of them, but like I said, I did not expect that many. So definitely be on the lookout for the follow-up to this video where I'll get into the rest of them. But I don't want to ramble on for too much longer. This video is already the longest I've ever done. People got to get out of here, but thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and if you enjoy this, please consider, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, get out of here.